Welcome everybody to Home Cooking with Chef Walter, RV edition. Well, thank you for joining us, and I know it's been a long time since we've made a video. It's been a couple of years, but my wife Kim and I, who's on the other side of the camera, we've been busy for the last couple of years traveling with our travel company, Artistic Gourmet Adventures, and now we've got a break, and we've actually decided to come to the United States. And we are traveling around in our RV. We have a fifth wheel that we like to travel in when we're in the United States. And so we've been traveling the southeastern United States. And we've just spent a little bit of time in the Bayou region of Louisiana. And some of my very favorite dishes come from Louisiana, Cajun dishes, Creole dishes. But I am just absolutely in love with the tastes and the flavors of the Bayou. And what do I mean when I say that? Well, you know, the Bayou has, you know, when I think of the Bayou, I think of crawfish, I think of shrimp, I think of tasso, which is a smoked ham, and then I think of andouille, which is a sausage, a smoked sausage. And so what we want to do today is we're going to incorporate all of those flavors into a chicken breast. So we're going to do a classic chicken breast, but it's going to be stuffed with flavors of the Bayou. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. If this is your first time tuning in, let us know you're out there by giving us a big thumbs up below, and then hit that subscribe button to make sure you never miss a video. Now, let's start cooking. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to start with our chicken. I personally like to buy an entire chicken and butcher it myself for several reasons. One thing, it's much more economical, and I like using the entire chicken. Today we're going to be using the chicken breast, but for another recipe we may use the chicken quarters. We may use the legs separately, the thighs separately, and then we've got the wings. And almost the most important part is that we've got the carcass that we'll use to make an incredible chicken stock. And I've actually already got a video on that, so if you haven't seen that video or you don't know how to make a chicken stock, check the video out, and you'll learn how to butcher a chicken from scratch and make your own chicken stock. All right, so now that we've got our chicken breasts cut, what we'll do is make a little slit just along the side. Just a vertical slit here, or horizontal slit actually. And we're trying not to go all the way through the chicken breast right there. So there's our, that's going to be for our stuffing, and we're going to put our stuffing right inside there. So that's one. And notice I'm doing it on the outside edge. We've got a little bit more meat to use there to make our cut. And the same thing on this side. All right, now that's our two breasts cut and ready to go. Okay, now that we've got our chicken breasts separated, we want to season them. And now for this part, it is really up to you. I'm going to tell you all the seasonings that I used, but you could just buy your favorite Creole or Cajun seasoning, or you can make your own. What I've made mine here and I've got them. I already put them in a little bowl here and just mixed them up. I'm going to cheat because I can't remember without looking at it, but I've got some cayenne pepper, a little bit of celery salt, some chili powder, some garlic powder, some paprika, oregano, and some dried thyme, along with some sea salt and some freshly cracked black pepper. And again, these, you know, your seasoning is a very individual thing, so season it to whatever your tastes are. If you want a little bit more spice, you can put a little bit more cayenne pepper in it, a little more black pepper, what have you. And then just taste it. Taste your once you've made your mix, just give it a little taste. And hold off on the salt when you first do it so you don't get it too salty. But as you can taste it, you can tell if you need a little bit more spice, a little bit more salt, a little bit more oregano, that kind of thing. So that's our seasoning blend. And what we're going to do then is we've got our chicken here, and we've got it patted dry, and I'm just going to fairly liberally season the chicken outside and on the inside. So again, what we've done here is a pretty typical Cajun seasoning. You want to make sure you have some of that heat. So the essential items in a Cajun seasoning for me would be would be cayenne pepper, some black pepper, maybe a little bit of garlic powder, and paprika. Those are kind of the essentials, and then everything else is kind of an addition, like, you know, dried oregano or dried thyme, that kind of thing, are actually great to add to it as well. Okay, so we are ready to start with the meats, but first I just want to mention that you'll notice that I have a different cutting board here. So with that silicone cutting board, I rinsed it, I sprayed it with disinfectant, rinsed it in some, washed it in some warm soapy water and set that aside, and now we are using a wooden cutting board for our meats. And just make sure that everything that you had that touched the chicken is very clean when you finish using it. So on to our meats. Like I mentioned earlier, you know, Taste of the Bayou, or, you know, crawfish, and here you can buy, you know, fresh crawfish tails that have actually been cleaned and peeled. So that's what I've got here. And then tasso, which is a pork ham, and it's absolutely delicious. You can buy that here in the grocer, as well as Andouille sausage, and this one is one that has been hickory smoked and is absolutely delicious. So we're going to get those diced up and ready to go. So we've got our meats out. We've got our crawfish, we've got our tasso, and then we've got our sausage. So I'm just going to start cutting those up, and you know, they're going to be stuffed inside the chicken, so it doesn't really matter that much how they look, but I do want a nice, you know, about a 1/4 inch dice, something like that. And I'll just do an example of the ham so you can see it, but we'll just cut those like that. And boy, I'm telling you what, this ham is absolutely delicious and to die for. It's a little bit spicy. And now again, just doing the dice. I'm just going to put all of our crawfish on the bench. And the crawfish, you can just dice straight down like so. Turn it and just go across there. Just making sure that everything's about a 1/4 inch dice. And I'm separating the crawfish from the meats because we're actually we'll cook the meats first, and then we'll add the crawfish at the end, since the crawfish take very little time to cook. And if you want, at this point, if you're familiar with Old Bay seasoning, which I love, it's a seafood seasoning that you can buy, you can just throw a little bit of that on your crawfish and get a little bit more of that seafood flavor. Okay, we've got our meats all diced and ready to go, and so now let's look at our vegetables. And the vegetables we're going to use today are what's called the Holy Trinity of Cajun cooking. So we've got onion, green pepper, and celery. So we're just going to dice those up, and then we're going to add a little bit of okra. It's not okra seasoned, so I've got some frozen okra, or you can use fresh if you've got fresh okra, and then a little bit of garlic. Okay. And we're going to put our onion. We're going to put our onion actually in a separate bowl because we need to cook our onion first and let it get softened. And so we'll separate it. Now, after our onion, we can cut our green peppers and our celery. We can put those in this. We'll put those in the same bowl. So for bell peppers, what I like to do, just to make sure we have a nice dice, is I'll cut the ends off and just toss those aside for right now. We're not throwing them away, we're just tossing it aside. And we're just gonna come down on the side of the bell pepper like that, and make sure we have a nice little flat piece. All right, and so now we can just make some lines, just make some cuts about 1/4 inch in width, and then we just line those up and do 1/4 inch the other direction, and that gives us our dice. And making sure that your vegetables are diced the same size is not just for aesthetics, it's not just for looks, but it's also to ensure that they cook at the same rate, that one side doesn't cook faster, or one vegetable doesn't cook faster than the other vegetable does. All right, there's our pepper. And now for our celery. What I like to do with celery is cut it into smaller chunks, and then cut it into half, and another half, and another half. And now we'll just do our dice. Okay, all right, and then our final vegetable, of course, is our okra. And the okra, in this case, is really more of a binder than anything else. It's, you know, you actually hardly even taste the okra. It's a nice binder. It's used in gumbos and many stews as a thickener. Then the last thing we're going to do is our garlic. And we're simply going to press our garlic in a garlic press. And to peel garlic cloves, I'll just like to just put them down on the board and just hit them with your blunt side of your knife or the flat side of your knife blade, and that way you can easily peel them. And I've got kind of a small, I'll just take the end off, and I've got kind of a small garlic press here, so I'll just cut my garlic into 2 pieces, and we'll do it like that. And again, garlic will go in last, and so it's going to get its very own little container, because garlic only takes about 30 to 45 seconds to cook and become fragrant. So that's our veg. We've got our holy trinity of our onions, celery, and bell pepper, and then we're going to add to it our okra and our garlic. We've got all of our meats ready to go. We've got all of our vegetables ready to go, and we are actually going to cook this breast in an air fryer. So we're going to now go ahead and preheat our air fryer, and we're just going to put it on roast. And it says 380 degrees Fahrenheit. That's fine, at 40 minutes. And we will just get that started preheating, because it won't take long for us to get our vegetables seared and our meat seared and ready to go. So we are going to get our vegetables and our meat pan seared, and we're just going to heat. We've got a little vegetable oil in the pan. You could use bacon grease, whatever you want, but we're just going to let that get heated up a little bit, and then we'll add our meats into the pan. Our oil is hot, and so we're just going to now toss in our meat. And again, this ham and the sausage are both already smoked, so they are cooked already. We just want to get a little edge on them and just get a little pan roasting done for them. And I'm going to go ahead and turn my vent on. Our meat's been cooking for about 5 minutes here, so we're just going to take it out. And we just, again, like I said, we just really wanted to sear it, get a little bit of color on it. And so we're going to take it out, and we're going to leave the oil in the pan. And now we will just toss in our crawfish. crawfish really only take 2 or 3 minutes to cook through. We're just going to toss it around here. Crawfish are very similar to shrimp in that they just don't take very much time at all to cook. So once we get those cooking for about 2 minutes, they will be ready to go. Okay, crawfish is done. And we're just going to add that now to our vegetables. And now I'm actually going to turn the heat down just a little bit, or quite a bit, and we're going to add some butter to the pan. And the butter is going to be for us to sweat our vegetables in. Okay, we're going to let our butter melt. We've added probably about 1.5 tablespoons of butter or something like that. And what we're going to do now is actually make a roux. So we've got the heat down on fairly low, and we will add just a little bit less than a tablespoon and a half of flour to make our roux. And so the butter is melted. We've added our flour, and now what we're going to do is we're just going to cook that around and cook and stir and let the flour, the rawness of the flour cook out. And you don't want to skip this step because you don't want to taste raw flour in your finished product. So we're just going to cook this for probably cook and stir for 5 to 6 minutes. Because we want this roux to actually turn more of a little bit darker color. So we're going to let that cook now and stir it for about 5 minutes. Okay, as you can see, our roux is now a little bit darker color. And you know, it's not like we're making gumbo, so we don't need to get it incredibly dark. So our roux is a nice darker color there. And now what we'll do is add our onions. We're going to start with our onions, and we're going to cook our onions just until they're soft and kind of translucent. So we will let those onions cook for 2 or 3 minutes. Our onions have now cooked for about 5 minutes, nice and soft, and now we'll just toss in the rest of our vegetables. Let them cook with the onions. And at this point, I'm going to add just a little bit of salt, because what the salt does is it actually helps the vegetables to release a little bit of their moisture. And so I'm just going to add just a little bit of fine salt to the mix here. And we'll let those vegetables cook for a few minutes. And then we will add our garlic. Okay, vegetables are nice and soft, and now let's add our okra in. And that's going to add some moisture to the entire mix. And we will let that okra cook for a minute or so and let it start releasing its moisture. And then we will add our garlic. And I'm not too worried about the skillet. Looks like it's getting a little bit dry right now. I'm not really worried about that, because we're going to be adding our chicken broth in as soon as we after we put our garlic in. Our okra is nice and soft, and now it's time to add our garlic. And we've just got our minced garlic that we'll add to the pot. And again, it takes about 30 seconds of heat for that garlic to become really nice and nice and fragrant. So we'll stir that around a little bit. And wow, is it ever fragrant. Okay, about 30 minutes for our garlic. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to deglaze our pan with our chicken stock. So we're going to increase our heat a little bit. And this really is just to kind of get the solids that are stuck to the bottom of the pan incorporated into everything else. And now it's going to, you know, with the roux that we made with the flour and the butter, that's now going to become kind of almost kind of a sauce. Although we don't really need a sauce because this is actually going to be on the inside of the chicken breast. So we're just going to cook this, and we're actually going to cook a fair amount of the moisture out of it, and then we will add our meats into it. And you can see how the okra is starting to kind of get, I guess the word is slimy, but it's really kind of starting to let things bind together. And that's what we want it to do as you cook out the chicken stock. And so as you can see, most of the chicken stock is gone. And so now we're just going to add our meats back into it. And now we're just going to combine everything. We literally will combine it, and we're going to turn our heat off and let that sit for a few minutes. We actually want it to cool down a little bit. And that's going to be our stuffing. Okay, so that's done. And we're going to take it off the heat and just let it sit and cool. Our chicken filling, our stuffing, has been reserved and it's now cooled off. And so we are now just going to stuff our chicken breast. And I'm going to do one that I'll tie with string, and then I'll do one where we just enclose it with toothpicks. So we'll grab some of our stuffing mix. And we don't want to overstuff it, but we don't want to understuff it either. So that's a nice amount. And what we'll do is just take our kitchen string. I like to start in the very center with the kitchen string. And we want to form a nice little package here. And so I'm just going to trim it about there. And for what we're doing, it doesn't need to be super tight, but we just want to make sure our filling stays inside and not come outside. And then we'll do one more over here, and then one more. And I'm going to trim these back just a little bit. All right, so there's one of our chicken breasts, and we will put that on the pan. And then the other one, we will do the same thing. We'll stuff it, and we will use our toothpicks to enclose the stuffing, just in case you don't have kitchen string hanging around. And just make sure your toothpick catches all of the top and the bottom part to make sure your stuffing stays in. And I think we're in pretty good shape there. Okay, very good. So those will go into our roasting pan. And now I'm going to, you could use a little bit of melted butter if you wanted, or I'm just going to use a little bit of olive oil to just put over the top of this. Just make sure it stays nice and moist as it cooks. And again, we've got our oven preheated, and we'll stick our chicken breast in the oven. And we're going to cook that for probably 20-25 minutes, something like that, and we'll test it. And we're actually going to use a temperature probe to test temperature. So you want to make sure that when your this has actually been preheating. It says 9 minutes, but I'm going to add some time to it, and probably going to take it to, I'm going to take it to 31 minutes. And when we take the chicken breast out, we want to make sure the temperature is 105 degrees Fahrenheit or 68 degrees centigrade. Our time is up. This chicken cooked really for it. It seems, I think it was done after about 15 minutes. I had the oven on about 380 roasting, and wow, just take a look at that. The skin is nice and crispy, seems juicy all through. So we're going to take it out, and we're going to, we'll untie one, and we'll cut into one just to see what the cook is like, and then we'll do a little plating of the other one. All right, we removed our chicken breast, and actually the one that we tied is a little bit more attractive, so we're going to take the strings away, and we will use that for our plating. But let's just take a look at the one that we used, that we tied with toothpicks. And first of all, let's see if we can remove the toothpicks without breaking them. And yes, we did. Or we can. Wow. It's super hot, so we let these rest, and really, if you've got several of them, you can actually put a little bit of aluminum foil over them, tint them loosely with some foil, and let them rest 5 or 10 minutes. These have been resting now for about 7 or 8 minutes, so let's just cut into it and see what we have. You know what? I say let's just give it a taste. Beautiful stuffing. Really nice flavor. Got a little bit of heat from the cayenne pepper and the filling. It's beautifully balanced, nice salt in it. So really this chicken, you know, because it's a chicken breast, it's been split in half, and the inside is actually already cooked, or the filling is already cooked. It really only took about 15-17 minutes in the oven at about 380. So I would recommend definitely using a probe to determine the inside temperature of the chicken so that you don't overcook it. This one happens to be, I took it out and it was about 168 degrees Fahrenheit, and it probably, as it set, it probably went up to 170, 172, something like that. But it's just absolutely delicious, nice and moist, and you can still taste all of the andouille, the tasso, as well as the crawfish. Let's get it plated up. All right, for this chicken breast, this Bayou stuffed chicken breast, we're doing a plating that is just going to be magnificent. We've got a sauce, which is one of the 5 French mother sauces. This sauce is called Espagnole, and I haven't done it yet, but I will eventually have a video on this sauce. It is just delicious. It's a meat sauce. It's perfect with, of course, duck, perfect with a roasted chicken, and of course any red meats. But it's going to go very well with this Bayou chicken breast. So we're just going to put a little bit of that sauce in the center of our plate. And of course, you know, you could have all kinds of things as an accompaniment to this chicken. But since we are in Louisiana and we're celebrating Bayou foods and Cajun foods, we decided to do a dirty rice, which is actually a staple in Bayou country in Louisiana. So we're just going to add a little bit of dirty rice to our plate. And again, we'll do you'll see there will be a video coming on on how we do the dirty rice. And you know, we're not trying to get too fancy with this, but we want to make a nice little presentation. So there's our dirty rice. And we'll finish with our Bayou stuffed chicken breast. Just like that. And I'm actually going to see if I can pour a little bit of the cooking juices over the top of that. Very nice. Okay. And we'll finish it with a little bit of parsley. And there you have it. That is our Bayou stuffed chicken breast with dirty rice and an Espagnole sauce. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, give us a thumbs up below and hit that subscribe button. It's free. And ring the bell if you want to be notified as soon as we release a new video. Also, let us know in the comments if you have any special recipe requests. We really appreciate you tuning in. See you next time.